How did you contribute to the sexual revolution?
Well, some of that early stuff I did was just kind of done in a spirit of being a wise ass. I mean, did that story, Joe Blow has the family all having sex together, the parents and the children. That obviously, I don't believe that people should have sex with their children. I think that's kind of like, you know, a little bit inbred. But on the face of it, it looks like that's what I'm saying. But it's just kind of being a wise ass. But a lot of people didn't understand that, and the comic got in a lot of trouble.
Do you feel that you really contributed to the sexual revolution?
I guess I did my part, such as it is a sexual revolution. I don't know.
Do you feel like you exploited the sexual revolution?
Exploited? No, I did what I thought. People that exploit the sex revolution are people that would sit down and think of an angle like, okay, now how can we make a lot of money off of the sexual revolution? Let's see. Well, we'll do some kind of like films with some blowjobs or something. And I don't know, you know, if you think that way about it, that's exploiting. That's making some money off it. It's like exploiting kids' attraction for sweets. How can we exploit kids' attraction for sweets? We'll make these candy bars and we'll give them delicious flavors. I mean, that's, you know, that's that kind of thinking. You know, it's just capitalism. That's the way it works. You know, but I never really thought of it that way as what can I do to make a lot of money off the sexual revolution. I just kind of did what I got a kick out of doing, you know.
You know, do you think that you've got to, like, be real with the Zap comics and
got to be real?
Really epitomize what was actually happening?
Well, I think the best of it for me was stuff that was inspired by LSD visions. I mean, I had this like psychedelic spiritual visions on LSD, and as close as I could get that into the comics in those days, I think that was the most interesting stuff when I look at it now. And the whole crazy sex thing came kind of a little bit after that, which I guess around 1969, 70, everything was just busting out. You know, you had the revolution and you had the sex thing, and everything was getting so crazy then. And that crazy sex thing just busting out of breaking every taboo, shocking every middle class, you know, moral stance. You know, it was just the people that were involved in that hip comic scene, all that, everybody just wanted to do that, just hit everything, you know.
And did that happen in my first LSD trip where you had the orgy?
I don't remember that one.
It seems like a lot of people that read your comics that have given me feedback that actually read them then felt like it got to the natural. It got to what was really happening. Huh. And they went to school in Berkeley and said they ran out to buy your comics when they first came out.
Yeah, a lot of people were taking LSD and getting stoned, and I was there. I was in that same, tuned to that same level. You know, I was part of that, I guess. So it was like part of a collective mindset of that time. You know, which I don't feel that way anymore. Now I'm definitely much more removed from any kind of popular or collective mindset.
What do you think's happened between Yellow Dog and like the 1980s?
Well, I mean that youth movement was a very strong collective thing. It was real strong. We really haven't had anything like that since then.
Have you thought about doing a comic between then and now? You know? You
mean about the period between then and now?
Yeah.
Not really. Well, I've done some things reflecting on that, and I have a lot of ideas about that. As time goes on, I get more ideas like that, but I haven't really done much of that yet.
Do you feel like most of your comics are best when they're sexual?
Not necessarily. No, I don't really know. I can't. It's real hard for me to judge. I mean, a lot of times when I'm doing the sex stuff, I'm thinking, this is ridiculous. Who's going to want to read this? It's completely self-indulgent, just my own things that I'm getting off on, and you know, who's going to want to read it? But somehow I can't help myself. I just have to do what the, you know, where my passions take me. That's where I go, I guess, with the art thing, and hope that other people like it somehow. I don't know. Try and make it entertaining somehow.
So do you think that Freud is right, that sex governs the root of all thinking.
Sure as hell governs me a lot. Has a lot to do with my thinking. I don't know.
And so, do you look at people and give them the fuckability test? You know, I mean, most people
Absolutely
think basically you are fuckable or you are not fuckable. You think that you know
I don't
you
know
do
about
that.
other. I don't know about other people. I just don't know. I mean, I study other cartoons, underground comics. I mean, the underground comic thing is completely free. You can draw what you want. It's not going to be censored. But yet, there's actually very few underground cartoonists who really deal much with sex in a very explicit way. So I look and I think, well, what is this guy? What does he really feel about sex? Where's the sex? What does he think about women and all that? And I don't see it in a lot of the comics being done by underground cartoonists, let alone forget about the overground. They can't do it. But the underground guys are completely free to explore that, and yet they don't. So I think, well, gee, maybe I'm oversexed. Maybe I'm like more libido obsessed than other people. I don't know.
Or do you think that they're not necessarily just true to themselves?
I don't know. Some of them seem like they are true to themselves, and they just don't have that strong of a, you know, their sex thing isn't that central to their whole ego. I don't know. Spain is one guy who's really into the sex element and draws a lot of. I mean, part of what you can gauge it by is like who draws a sexy woman and who doesn't, you know, in their comics. And I always look for that, who's really, you know, lovingly dwells on the contours of the female form and all that in their artwork. And there's not that many, small handful.
So now going back, I think in My Troubles with Women, you have the first encounter with the big Mexican girl.
That is.
You didn't make out or fill her out or anything. Okay.
I was too shy.
What would Mr. Natural be doing sexually now? Wearing condoms? Would your women be having, you know, orgies with condoms and dental dams? Where would they be right now?
One thing you might want to ask is about S. Clay Wilson, the type of sex he draws and the type of sex that you draw.
That's a very good question.
Oh, here, okay. Well, we'll go into that in 1 second. So it seemed like in My Trouble with Women, you point out your first encounter with a woman was with a big Mexican girl when you were young. Is that where your obsession with big women...
No, it started long before that.
It was before that?
Oh, yeah.
Well, how far back does that go? When did this come out?
Yeah, I don't know. I can't really pin it down to any particular time, but I just remember when I was like 4 years old, being downtown with my mother in Philadelphia and staring at all the women's legs in the high heels with the nylons, with the seams, and just being so lustful for those legs, you know.
When did you first think, so you just, when you were little, you had this fetish for stereopugic women?
Yeah, it's this kind of arrested development, I guess. I don't know. I always saw women as, like, I don't know, larger than life somehow. I don't know.
So the stereopugic.
Steatopigic. Let's get it straight.
Steatopugic.
Right. Steatopigia, which is a condition of a very large and rounded ass. That's what that means.
No,
Steatopigia.
This has been all your life.
Well, it really came into focus vividly at puberty. You know, really, then it just like suddenly just completely engulfed me. This obsession with this steatopigia thing.
So it's the ass, actually.
The ass, the legs, the whole like lower half of the female form.
Oh, I see. It has nothing to do with chest, face.
Not especially, no. Face, head doesn't matter. The head's not that important. I like a cute face, you know, but...
Can you describe your vision of sex in your comics? Like Snatch and back in the early 70s where you had, you know...
Well, in the early...
The comics you can eat and now compare it to the safe sex or what we're encountering today? Well,
in the early days, a lot of it was like you just got off on the shock value of being real blatant and out front about all this stuff that was, you know, always been kept so carefully and fastidiously hidden and before that in the media, you know. And, you know, somebody would find an 8-pager or something, those little comic books on the 30s, those little tiny ones. You ever see those 8-pagers that were real obscene? You know, they'd take Jigs and Maggie or something and make this little dirty comic out of it. Everybody just like get a big kick out of those. So let's just do stuff like that, you know, just do completely wild, out front, blatant stuff and see what happens. And it was fun for a while just for the shock value, but then that kind of wore off for me. But I mean, the other guys that still do that, like Wilson and Robert Williams, they still enjoy the shock element of that, doing that kind of stuff.
Now, what's your association with S. Clay Wilson?
He came into the whole comic thing in the late 60s, and he had done these drawings in the Midwest where he's from, in Kansas, that were like completely cut loose from any inhibitions at all. I'd never seen anything like it in my life. Like all totally violence and gore and sex and perversion, everything, homosexuality, everything was in there. And I saw that and I said, well, this obviously, there's no sense in putting any inhibitions on yourself after seeing that stuff, you know, where he just did every possible, you know, horrifying, shocking thing you could think of. But he's still doing it as a thing. He's still into that. It's a compulsion with him. And I kind of got it out of my system. But the freedom is, I still enjoy the freedom, and I still like to draw, you know, weird stuff in my comics, but it's not for the shock value so much now as it is just part of the humor of the whole thing. I don't know. It's hard to explain.
So you don't do any work with S. Clay Wilson
Well,
today?
we're still kind of trying to put together Zap comics, you know, which Spain and Wilson, Robert Williams, and Bill and Rick Griffin and Gilbert Shelton. We kind of still try and keep that group together for Zap Comics, but I don't know, it's getting harder and harder to get everybody together. They're scattered all around the world now. But it was a pretty tight group in the early 70s. Those guys hung around together and got stoned together a lot and stuff like that, and did a lot of cultural exchanging, you know, showing each other's stuff and all that.
Do you think that you've moved beyond the like overt, enjoyable, pointless sexuality of your sex comics?
Hell no. The pointless sexuality, that's the one I love the most. I love to do pointless sexuality. The more pointless, the better.
What about the Oh So Clean comics?
Jesus. Thank God the feminists have stopped haranguing me. That was really hard. The hardest thing I had to deal with in the whole show was the screaming about sexism and all that. And gee, maybe I'm exploiting women. And gosh, I'm sick. I'm wrong. It's all wrong. I should go through therapy and just get rid of this whole thing, or get myself fixed or something. You know.
What was the worst thing that ever happened to you, the feminists?
Well, actually, the feminists usually attack like the publishers before they, and the poor schmuck in the store before they got to the artists, you know.
But like I know I was personally like mauled by feminists.
Really?
Tomatoes
Physically
and
attacked?
eggs and yeah. Have you ever had anything like that?
No, I never got physically attacked like that. I mean, I've been attacked verbally a lot, you know, back in the mid-'70s, late '70s especially. But never, I mean, there's one publisher, Dennis Kitchen, that tells a really funny story that happened to him. These group of feminists came to his warehouse where he was publishing underground comics and said, we'd like to talk to you about this thing. And Dennis said, well, let's go up on the roof. We have a little, you know, table and some chairs up there, and we'll talk about it. So they went up there, and he said they got him cornered, and they're firing all this stuff at him about what sick it is and exploits women, and they kind of got him cornered over to the edge of the roof of the building, and were like leaning over him, real threatening, like they were going to, you know, push him off or something. And he said the whole time the main one, had these really huge tits, and she was like pushing these tits at him. It's like he's at the edge of the roof staring at these tits.
Like they were going to push him off the roof.
That's right.
Oh my God. Okay. Do you have any vision of where your comics are going? I mean, like, do you think, you know, in the 80s or with, you know, sex where it's at, you can't foresee where, you know, it's going to be maybe another 10 years?
At this point, I just think we're lucky that we can still get away with publishing this stuff the way things are getting, and that there are still stores that will carry it. I mean, stores are still getting busted, and there's a lot of the comic shop guys are really petrified of carrying this stuff, and a couple of the distributors are fundamentalist Christians. They won't touch this stuff at all anymore. So I don't know. And at this point, it's anybody's guess which way the federal government's going to go. You know, if it gets more liberal, things could improve. It could get better. You know, but then if it gets more conservative, it'll, you know, it's just anybody's guess at this point which way the whole fucking country's going to go. I don't know.
What do you think
Excuse
about
my
the
language.
whole Gary Hart scandal?
Well, that's just silly. And Gary just could have said, it's my business who I, you know, hang around with when I'm not working. You know, it's nobody's business. It's between me and my wife and my girlfriend and whoever else. He should have faced up to it like that instead of trying to cover it up and all that. That's where he made this big mistake. You know, I don't think any less of the guy. I mean, Donna Rice is a nice-looking girl. You know, I wouldn't kick her out of bed.
What do you think the state of America is in terms of politics today?
Well, I don't know. The whole thing is screwed as far as I can tell. I just hope to get somebody more liberal in there next time. I don't know. If we get, you know, any of those fundamentalist guys or anything, like they get in power, we're really sunk. We're really in for trouble. I might leave the country if that happens. Just say, okay, America, screw you. I'll go somewhere else. I don't care.
Would you really?
Yeah, I would. I mean, if I can't make a living here, I know I can make a living in Germany or France. They love me over there.
Justin Green. Binky Brown is his character. He did Binky Brown Meets the Holy Virgin Mary, which is like, I think, the greatest modern work of cartooning that I've ever seen. This is a recent t-shirt design, which I have the original artwork too also because I traded him a car for it.
Wow.
So I think I got the better end of the deal, actually. What else do you want to know? My Scotty dog collection. These are my Scotties. So this is my first favorite Scotty, my sort of Picasso Scotty here. Kind of looks like a Cubist sculpture. I got this when I decided, this is a good thing to collect. And then Robert found this shelf, this knick-knack shelf.
muscles.
Wait a minute. Robert found this knick-knack shelf for me, and then that kind of like encouraged me to collect all these
Flex
things.
your butt over there.
How about this? Should I show this? I can't. This sleeve doesn't pull up. Oh well, you can kind of see.
Do you lift weights?
No.
She's always
Do aerobics?
Yeah.
Wow.
I'm just strong.
And
What else
shows
here?
that picture, that painting?
Oh yeah, this is a painting. Can you see this? This is Sonny Glassner, who's like a used car salesman in Matawan, New Jersey, and he's kind of like very similar to my father as a type, you know. And I had this friend who works for some Jewish foundation in New Jersey and sent me all these photos for inspiration. And there was Sonny Glassner, and I thought this is like a sort of a tribute to my father, and it's kind of like Tin Man, that type of guy, you know. Sonny Glassner is kind of a great guy. And in his ad in the Yellow Pages, he says, Happy Hanukkah from Sonny Glassner. I thought that was a really a personal touch that I could appreciate. Oh, and this is my great-grandmother, Sophie, who my daughter's named after.
Oh, that picture of you in the Girl Scouts.
Where? Here? Oh, no, I was a brownie here. This is my brownie uniform, and I made this in brownies. It's my little frame. There's Sophie and Robert. That was like some photos taken for People magazine. That was one of the rejects.
What's this little doll here?
Here. Harvey P. Carr. This is like, he does American Splendor, which he writes the stories and lots of artists illustrate them, and Robert's done all the covers, and his wife, Joyce Brabner, has made these dolls, which they sell for $35 a piece, but this is like a Xerox of Robert's drawing of Harvey on the face, so since they used it, we got a free one. So we got like this Harvey doll,
Very
you know.
marketable.
Very marketable. We use it as like a throw pillow on our futon, you know. All right, get it out of here.
Oh, God.
It's a portrait of Robert I did. It was a back cover for this series of books called The Complete Crumb, and I made him sit for that. I kind of like that painting of him. Looks like him. Ow.
You come out of the studio, this will make them crack up all over there. Can you do it out the door?
Yeah.
Out the doorway. Just walking this way across. You up on her back. I knew you guys have to move. You can do it.
Be quiet, Artie.
this farm work out here.
It's not hardcore, but a little bit of sweet cheek. He's a happy guy. Here's a guy in paradise. This is Robert Crumb in paradise.
This is too sexist.
No, it's not. It's not at all. She loves it. Who wouldn't?
All right, Artie.
She's a woman that's getting a lot of attention, man. She loves you. You love her. There's nothing wrong with that.
Oh, boy, we're really getting into it.
Why not? Why not? Love. There's nothing wrong with love. Love is the most wonderful. Look at this. No, keep on fucking. It's so, man, look at it. Ah! Do it. Get up. Get up.
No.
Get up on it sideways. Crumb, you can do it. You can do it, Crumb. Come on, one time. Do it sideways. Come on, please.
Side saddle.
Do it. Side
Really,
saddle. Side saddle. One
Missy,
time.
this is not. This is
This
becoming
is
him.
side saddle. Crumb is happy. Shit, you're awesome, dude.
Awesome, dude.
I mean it. That's what my kids say.
That's right.
That's right.
Now, Jesse, can you just
I can't believe you
keep
did a
out for
side saddle.
driving?
I make